The Entrepreneurial Journey podcast. We're talking business and building a culture that's kick-ass. Where we make it happen, grab your seat, let's have a blast. At the Entrepreneurial Journey podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Entrepreneurial Journey. Today I have Spencer B.
Good
Hodgins
afternoon,
with
Rebecca.
me.
I'm
Hello,
wonderful.
Spencer.
It's great to
How
be
are
here.
you?
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Absolute pleasure.
Pleasure.
Okay, what does
It's
the B stand for, Spencer?
It's meant to be my mother's maiden name, but I can't find a trace of it.
Oh, okay. I like it because it separates out the two names. I really like it. Now, you are the founder of an organisation called, and let me get this right, Reboundog.
It is correct. It is all one
Reboundog
word.
is all one word, isn't it? Yeah. What do they do?
I, as founder, have got this passion for collaborating, connecting people. I've got a skill at networking people, and I looked at how I could create an impact in a disruptive manner. So I connect pet advocates globally. We operate as a social impact network. So we're a network of individuals. We are looking at, rather than just trying to solve the animal rescue problem by creating another animal rescue or animal shelter, locally or nationally, we need to look at actually what is the problem that is causing the problem of too many dogs in shelters and rescues and so forth, and behavioural issues. So over 2 years, I brought together a very diverse network of people from Australia right through to the west coast of America. So we are now globally on 5 continents, excluding South America. And the team meet up on a monthly basis for what I call sofa meetups, have a very broad experience in animal welfare, animal behaviour. The majority, such as myself, come from outside of the industry. So we are bringing industry knowledge, whether that's marketing. Brain's gone to sleep as it always does. Whether it's marketing, photography, branding, lean management, whatever it is, into the equation. Whether, we've just had somebody join us, an eco-psychologist. So it's looking at how we can bring our skills that we've gained in life to collaborate, sit down, and use the network to create solutions that will be innovative, not repeating the same problem. And what we've learned, or I've certainly learned, is one thinks, if you've ever seen that classic dancing man in the video, in the field video of how to build a movement, is I thought, wow, it's just going to happen overnight. There's going to be 5,000 people joining, like BLM or Occupy Me, and it doesn't. In reality, it's like growing your bit. It doesn't work like that. But what we've learned is that if you want to create something new or solve a social problem, that's what it's about. It's solving those what are called wicked problems, those social problems that aren't caused by one individual. They can't be solved by one individual. There's no one organisation that's been the cause of it. And you can't solve it overnight. And what I've certainly learned in the last few months is the way to do it is to talk about impacts and KPIs, is to start to create incremental impacts at small scale and measure those. So rather than trying to solve 100% of a problem, if in the next year Reboundog, through its network of partners and members and associates, so there's 50 of us at the moment. If 50 of us go out and create a 5% impact in our own field, and you multiply it, you have a network effect. And that's what turns me on. It's that network effect that we can create together a far greater social impact than you and I or any of your viewers can do individually. And that's the whole purpose of it. I put my hands to it. It's that collaboration. Reboundog is that collaboration space to do so. And the way we found that it works is to hold regular monthly meetings But rather than being so everybody's going to doze off when I say meetings, and rather than being the Zoom call that looks like the old Muppets in the box, I have a passion for breaking down silos. I don't do status. I don't do CEO egos and that sort of thing, and so forth. So the idea is, if we were meeting pre-pandemic, if we were meeting in real person, we'd probably sit in a hotel foyer or a conference room, and the idea is that we could bring I use the big names, those who've got the experience to sit on a sofa, not stand up on a corporate conference stage and give a PowerPoint click presentation, but let's have a conversation with those people. But let's bring the other side, because I'm always fighting for the underdog. Let's bring the newbies in, the startups in, those that never have the network opportunity or the status or the membership of a multi-figure trade organization to belong. Let's get them the opportunity to have a conversation with those people. So you bring in the knowledge of the experience into somebody else, and like you and I are having a conversation now, one of us is going to go away and say, oh, that nugget, that little bit that somebody said, it's coaching in a way, but it's coaching on a subtle conversational scale. And there's a book on my bedside which I've started reading again, is the conversation, it's the transcripts of the podcasts between Bruce Springsteen and President Obama when they did a podcast, and it's all about conversations. And there's a wonderful shot of two of them sitting in Bruce's farmhouse with a mic each, just having a chinwag, having a
chat. Let's rewind, okay? Because there's so much there that you've told us about stuff, so that I want to unpick bit by bit. So, you founded this because I know you have a love of animals and dogs in particular. And there is an issue across the world with animal cruelty and, dogs being allowed to roam about in huge packs and all kinds of awful things. Where did that fascination and that passion come from for animals?
Quite simply, my background is probably, well, you call it broken family if you want to put it. I don't like labels. It's just how I was. So I've always been the outsider, the outlier, and never listened to. If you think that a lot of my background's out the corporate, big scale landscaping or truck driving, so I've always been the labourer in the element rather than the academic side or the status part of the corporation. And we're not listened to. We're labelled. We're labelled and said, oh, you're just a truck driver, you haven't got an opinion. And if you go into school systems where if you don't fit or if you've got whatever autism of some sort, you're not listened to because your opinion isn't the edge. And we're the outsider. We are the underdogs. And having gone through that for now 50, 60 years plus, there was 6-7 years ago, somebody in the States sent me a video of what the Americans call a prison dog program, where the disadvantaged dog that isn't rehomed easily because it's not cute and fluffy and everybody wants it has behavioural problems, is put into usually a soft prison, so it's retrained to be sociable. But in doing so, the incarcerated or the prisoner is trained life skills in training, behaviour, grooming, whatever. So it enables them to be able to participate in society. And the bit that really lit me up, and I won't swear because we're being recorded to an audience, is you had the dog there and you had the person there, and they're both realising, you can see the thought bubbles, that's how my head was, going in their head and saying, he or she doesn't give a proverbial about my background. They are actually listening, or what is now called deep listening. They are listening to me without prejudgment. And I just went, wow, if we took that idea of enabling underdogs to participate in society through listening, it changes the whole perspective. And if you use that as an example and took that into other social sectors, So it's enabling underdogs, whether they're people, whether they're army veterans with PTSD or whatever it is, or autistic people, or whatever it is. There has to be a method of increasing the ability for them to participate in society, and it also allows society to benefit because it lowers the social costs. And I can't remember the figures, but they're stupid. If you put somebody inside in prison, okay, they've done something wrong, the cost of doing so to provide somebody with a safe house if they've got a mental issue, if you want, is horrendous. If we can reduce that by creating these little impacts, then we change the world. And it's just that simple. And it's that bit that you're listening without. That's what drives me. It's having some, and you go into your work. You go into places, and somebody will half listen to you, and they want to jump in. They want to throw you. They've answered your question before they've answered what you're saying before you've even told them what you're saying, and that's what the problem is. We don't listen, and the dogs give us an opportunity to slow down, to empathize, to have an emotional bond. And it's the what if we could extrapolate that idea away from just American prison systems, and we took it into any scenario, whether it's homeless people that we see in Edinburgh or wherever it is, to enable them to have some meaning to their life so they can participate, so they have some value. And then it also puts a value on the dog in a rescue, in a shelter that isn't rehoused, that is currently the business model relies on goodwill from the people running it. It relies on donations from you and I putting stuff into a charity shop, and it relies on donations. And as we saw during the pandemic, it failed because the donations just disappeared. Yeah. So there's
talk dogs, Spencer. I'm going to have to pause for 2 seconds because my 4-month-old puppy wants to go out. So I'm going to press pause. Hang on. All right, so good. Now I've sorted my 4-month-old puppy out, which is appropriate. I don't know whether you heard him. He barks slightly in the background, and he's pretty good, actually. He asks
that's not
to
bad.
go out
That's
now.
not bad at 4 months, is it?
I know. It's all right. So I have to listen to him even in the middle of recording a podcast. So what you've said there is fascinating, because animals connect with human beings at a level that human beings find it hard to connect with each other. And I did some work with horses a while back. Julianne Griffiths, who's also been on this podcast, does leadership with horses. And I was talking to the women who are running that program about the mirror neurons and how many more mirror neurons horses have, which is why they're quite sensitive creatures. And I guess dogs are the same, and dogs also have
I think the smell is about 10,000 times the human or something crazy like that. It's phenomenally larger.
Yeah. So they'll be picking up on things that we just don't register. When we're stressed, I guess we smell